Hello, everyone out there. Uh, First of all, I would like to start this video by giving a quick shout out to Dixon D. White to start this movement of racial healing here in our country, because it's definitely something that's needed. It's a good thing we got going on out there. So I want to encourage everybody watching this video to create a video and keep this thing going, because we have to be the change that we seek. My name is Mike Wise. So hello to everyone out there in cyberspace, Facebook, and all that good stuff. I want to share a little bit of my experience with dealing with racism here in the United States of America. Right now, I'm going to be talking about the state of Tennessee, the city of Nashville, and the suburb of Antioch, Tennessee. I'm originally from Chicago, Illinois. I moved to Antioch, Tennessee in 1984 when I was 11 years old. Coming from Chicago, the south side of Chicago, I grew up around all black people. I very rarely saw anyone white or of Caucasian descent, if you will. I remember in my 4th and 5th grade year in grade school, there was one white boy that was at my school, and he was being bused there from whatever side of town that he was on. So I never really experienced people of the white race until I moved to Antioch, Tennessee. I can remember the first time I went into a Kroger grocery store with my mother, and I was surrounded by all white people. I was shell shocked. I was nervous. I was afraid. I had never been around that many white people before in my life, and I'll never forget. My mother looked at me and said, "Boy, what's wrong with you?" And I was like, "Mother, I've never seen this many white people in my life." And she was like, "Boy, calm down. These folks ain't gonna bother you. They human just like you are." I wasn't used to it. Much shortly after, we had been in Nashville, maybe less than a year, a little bit over a year. I was in the 7th grade. I actually failed the 7th grade, and I had to go to summer school. So my mother told me that I was going to have to cut grass or whatever to pay for my summer school, and she wasn't going to take me. My father wasn't going to take me, so I had to get me a bicycle. So I met a guy. I actually walked. Anybody in Nashville from the Antioch area know where McMurray is. I walked from Patchy Trail area all the way over to McMurray. And my first day of summer school, and when I come back on that day, I was coming down Cimarron Way, and I met a guy. His name was David Jones. And when I first met him, he was a white dude. I didn't think we were going to get along because he was white, of course. But he sold me a bicycle for $5, and it turned out that it wasn't really a bicycle. It was the frame of a bicycle, and but we put it together. He had tires and handlebars and gear cranks and everything down in his garage, and we fixed up a bike for $5. So I had this bicycle now that I could ride that distance to summer school. Well, one day on my way home from summer school on my bicycle, I was on Packard Drive, and there was a big Ford truck coming up the hill. And when it got closer to me, I heard him accelerate. And the next thing I know, there were 2 white guys hanging out of the window. One was actually on the back of the truck, and one was hanging out the passenger side window and yelling out, "Get out of the road, nigger." And one of them spit at me, and one of them threw a beer can at me, and they drove on up the street. That was my very first experience with racism in my life. I knew nothing other than watching Roots, the movie Roots, coming from Chicago. That's all I knew about history with white people and black people was Roots. And that was my first experience, personal experience with dealing with racism in my life. There was another situation where maybe about 2 years later, once I got settled in and I actually met some black friends in the neighborhood, because the neighborhood was predominantly white and Asian in 1984, 85, 86 when I moved to Antioch. And I met some black friends, and we were hanging out, walking over off of Coalmont Drive, off of Packard Drive. And we were coming down the street, minding our own business. And as we got in front of this one particular house, there was probably at that time, I guess, if I would have to take an educated guess, this guy was probably in his mid to late 30s, early 40s at the most. Comes out of the door on his porch, no shirt on, chest all red, and he was drunk. And he yelled at me and my friends and told us, "Get the hell from in front of my house, niggers." And so at that point, we all stopped. There's 5 or 6 of us. We're all teenagers, aging between 13 and 16. So we all stopped and we're looking like, what is he talking about? So now we're all, we're revved up now, like, oh, okay, so he wanted with us. So we just stopped and we stood there. And he come off the porch, start walking into the yard a little bit. And his wife is behind him, begging him to stop. His kids are, yelling that they were little kids, like 5, 6 years old, yelling for him to stop. And he walks into the middle of the yard and he says, "I said hit the goddamn road, you niggers." And we were just like waiting. Everybody in the group was waiting for the first one to make some type of a move. So I got so pissed off that I dropped down on one knee and I slapped the concrete, the pavement of that street as hard as I could. And I said, "I hit the goddamn road. Now what?" And he looked at us and we stood and my friends looked at me and I looked at them. And at this point, I believe we were all thinking the same thing. Wait for this cracker to step off of the side of the curb and come out of his yard and we're gonna beat his ass. And everybody was huffing and puffing and mad and angry. And his wife came off of the porch and she grabbed him and started pulling him back. And at that point, I think he really began to realize that was what was going to happen. So he acted like, he was trying to pull away from her, but he allowed her to pull him back and pull him to the porch before he finally huffed and puffed and turned around and went back in his house and slammed his door. That was my second experience dealing with racism in my life in Antioch, Tennessee, which at that time was considered a suburb of Nashville, Tennessee. But I have plenty of great, wonderful friends that are white that I met in Nashville and Antioch, Tennessee, and we're still like brothers and sisters to this day. I know that all white people are not bad. I know that all white people are not racist or prejudiced to black people, and I have more stories that I'm going to share with y'all. I just wanted this to be the first story that I shared because it was my first encounter with dealing with racism. And I'm hoping that these stories that I'll be sharing and that Dixon D is sharing and other people are sharing these videos, I'm hoping that these videos actually reach people and affect their lives, and black and white people, to show that underneath the color of our skin we all bleed the same color. Everybody's shit stink. Nobody, you Putin potpourri, I don't think so. Where there's not much indifference. So, and I know and I understand, I truly believe that racism is a learned, taught, and learned behavior. It's not something you don't come out of the womb being prejudiced. It's just not how it happens. So I hope that this initial story that I've shared with you all, I hope for real that somebody out there, that it reaches you, that you see it, and that maybe you are someone who's prejudiced, somebody that has, a racism embedded deep into your mind, into your heart, that you were taught as a child how to behave this way and how to act and react to people of other colors, nationalities, and backgrounds. I hope this video, if not one before this or after this, changes your life, changes the way that you think, changes the way that you feel, changes the way that you act and around other people and with other people, and with your interactions, daily interactions and whatnot, on your job, just socially out in life, at the store, whatever. I hope these videos continue to go viral and continue to change the lives of people, because we need to join together. The last thing we need to do is to be fighting amongst one another with the days and times in American society. And I truly believe that this is one of the tactics that they are using to continue to put us against each other, so that human beings, mankind alike, will not open their eyes collectively and see that we can beat this thing called racism, as well as other issues that we deal with in American society. Again, I'm about to close out. I want to thank all y'all people who actually sat here long enough to watch the ending of this video. Again, I want to send a salute out to the guy Dixon D. White for starting this movement and motivating and inspiring me to make my first video. My name is Mike Wise, and I'm signing off. Peace.